At first, it looks like a building that forgot about people. But that wasn't a design flaw, it was the point. In the heart of Manhattan, surrounded by glass towers and constant motion, stands 33 Thomas Street, a massive concrete monolith. No windows, no visible life. By day, it feels out of place. By night, it almost disappears completely. For decades, millions passed it without question, assuming it was just another utility structure, another anonymous piece of city infrastructure. On paper, it was harmless. A telecommunications building, reliable, necessary, boring, and that belief was the first mistake. When 33 Thomas Street was conceived in the late 1960s, the world was changing faster than it ever had before. Phone calls were exploding in volume. Cities were growing louder, faster, more connected. The United States needed a way to move voices across thousands of miles instantly, without interruption. AT&T's long lines department was tasked with building the backbone of that system, a national nervous system made of cables, switches, and relays. 33 Thomas Street was designed to be one of its most important organs. The building didn't need windows because the occupants weren't people, they were machines. Rows of equipment, digital switches, batteries, backup systems stacked behind reinforced granite walls. It was engineered to survive disasters most buildings couldn't. Nuclear fallout, extended blackouts, isolation from the city above. From the outside, it looked excessive. From the inside, it was logical. Millions of phone calls flowed through it every single day. Voices converted into data. Data routed through massive 4 ESS switches, choosing the fastest possible path across the country. From New York to California, from one private conversation to another. It worked so well that no one questioned it. And when systems work perfectly, they become invisible, until something breaks. In the early hours of September 17th, 1991, 33 Thomas Street went dark. A power failure cascaded through the building. Half of New York's phone traffic vanished. Air traffic control systems failed at major airports. Flights froze mid-operation. 5 million calls were blocked. Backup systems, designed to be flawless, failed due to a chain of human and technical errors. For a brief moment, the city felt the absence of the building it never noticed. Then the systems recovered. Calls resumed. Planes took off. And the incident faded from public memory. But inside intelligence agencies, a different realization was forming. If a single building could disrupt communication across the nation, then a single building could also see it. After September 11th, 2001, fear reshaped priorities. The rules changed quietly. The Patriot Act passed with unprecedented speed. Surveillance expanded not through loud announcements, but through partnerships. Private infrastructure became intelligence access points, and the lines between foreign monitoring and domestic data blurred. Inside AT&T facilities across the country, something subtle began to appear. Locked rooms, unmarked doors, restricted access areas that didn't exist on older blueprints. In 2003, a technician named Mark Klein noticed one of them. Room 641A, a sealed door beneath a major internet hub. Behind it, a splitter, a device designed to duplicate data, not select it, not filter it, copy everything. Emails, phone calls, images, entire digital lives. Klein understood what that meant. This wasn't targeted surveillance, it was structural surveillance, built directly into the system itself. When he went public, the response wasn't outrage. It was legislation. Laws passed retroactively. Immunity granted. The system didn't deny what it was doing. It simply absorbed the shock and moved forward. Years later, another crack appeared. In 2013, an NSA analyst boarded a plane to Hong Kong carrying secrets the public was never meant to see. Edward Snowden's leaks revealed programs with code names repeated across classified documents: Blarney, Fairview, Titan Point. Titan Point stood out. A surveillance site hidden inside a major U.S. city, linked to foreign gateway switches. Rimrock access. Rimrock was a technical term for something very specific. 4 ESS switches. Journalists began tracing the language back to physical locations, and all roads led to one place: 33 Thomas Street. According to leaked NSA documents, the building was no longer just a telecommunications hub. It was a sensitive, compartmented information facility, a place where intelligence agencies could directly tap into global communications as they flowed through the infrastructure of everyday life. Satellite dishes on the roof intercepted signals from space. Fiber optic cables carried conversations from across the world. Data was filtered, copied, and forwarded to NSA headquarters in Maryland. There, it was indexed, searchable, queryable. Not because someone was suspicious, but because someone existed. The system didn't care who you were. It cared that you were connected. AT&T never publicly acknowledged its role. Official responses were silence. Buildings like 33 Thomas Street remained unmarked, unchanged, and legally untouchable. At least 8 similar structures exist across the United States. Windowless, hardened, quiet. Architecture designed not for people, but for permanence. Today, 33 Thomas Street still stands exactly where it always has. Its walls hum softly with activity no one can see. Most pedestrians pass without looking up. Those who do feel something they can't quite explain. Because the most unsettling part isn't that surveillance exists, it's that it doesn't need to hide. It was never built in secret, it was built in plain sight. And if a building like this could watch the world for decades without being questioned, what else have we already accepted without noticing? What makes 33 Thomas Street disturbing is not what it contains, but how easily it was ignored. For years, the building did not need secrecy. It relied on familiarity. People assumed it was old infrastructure left behind by a previous technological era, a relic. And relics are rarely questioned. But intelligent systems don't disappear. They evolve quietly. Inside 33 Thomas Street, the technology never stopped upgrading. The analog switches of the Cold War era were replaced by digital systems. Copper gave way to fiber. Microwave relays vanished underground. Capacity multiplied. Speed increased. Visibility decreased. By the late 1990s, the building was processing an estimated 175 million calls per day. Not selectively, systemically. The distinction matters. Because when systems scale beyond human comprehension, accountability weakens. No individual sees the whole picture. Everyone becomes a small part of something much larger, and that is where psychology takes over. This is known as diffusion of responsibility. When a task is shared by many, no one feels fully responsible for the outcome. Engineers maintain equipment, executives manage contracts, agencies write requests, lawyers handle compliance. Each role feels neutral, routine, harmless, but together they form something else entirely. After 9/11, fear became operational policy. Not panic, not chaos, structured fear, measured fear, fear translated into procedure. The Patriot Act did not demand new buildings. It demanded access, and access already existed. Telecommunications companies had spent decades centralizing traffic for efficiency. From an intelligence perspective, this solved a problem that had existed for generations. You no longer needed to chase conversations. You could wait for them to arrive. This is called risk blindness. When a solution becomes so effective that its consequences fade into the background. Inside facilities like 33 Thomas Street, surveillance no longer looked like surveillance. It looked like maintenance, data duplication, network optimization, signal integrity. No one was listening to conversations in real time. That's the part people misunderstand. The system wasn't built to listen. It was built to remember. Metadata. Who contacted whom? When? For how long? From where? Psychologically, metadata feels harmless, abstract, incomplete. But patterns don't need content to be revealing. Human behavior is predictable under pressure. Friend groups cluster. Routines form. Anomalies stand out. The system didn't need suspicion to begin analysis. Suspicion emerged after analysis. This inversion is critical. Traditionally, investigation follows suspicion. Here, suspicion followed collection. That shift changes everything. When Edward Snowden's documents became public, the initial shock wasn't just about privacy, it was about scale. The realization that surveillance was not reactive, but ambient, always on, like background radiation. Programs like Blarney and Fairview weren't emergency measures. They were standing operations, embedded into infrastructure that civilians depended on to function normally. Titan Point was never meant to feel dramatic. It didn't need armed guards on every corner. It needed plausible deniability. A doorbell, an intercom, a security guard who never moved. The leaked NSA travel guide didn't describe panic or danger. It described routine, cover stories, parking instructions, coordination with the FBI next door. That detail matters. Because when something becomes routine, ethical friction disappears. This is normalization of deviance. When abnormal actions slowly become accepted because nothing immediately goes wrong. The absence of visible harm is mistaken for the absence of harm entirely. Years passed. Court cases were dismissed. Laws were rewritten. Public attention shifted. 33 Thomas Street never changed its appearance. It didn't need to. The building had already done its most important work. It trained the world not to notice it. And that raises a quieter, more unsettling question. If a system like this can operate for decades, legally protected, architecturally hidden, and psychologically normalized, then the real mystery is not how it was built. It's why no one felt responsible for stopping it. And that question leads to a final place investigators, journalists, and citizens rarely like to look. The mirror.